Well, hi everybody. My computer suffered a meltdown, which has been happening every so often when I use the Minicam software that I use to make all these wonderful presentations that honestly I spend hours doing. So we're going to have to do it without Minicam today. I'm back to my iPad. We've got backup. Every once in a while, the technology lets you down, and what can you do but deal with it? So anyway, that's what we're going to deal with today. I'm going to have to do this. Hi, John. Hi, Billy. Hey, Rich. How are you doing? And I won't be able to see your comments, I don't think. So yes, please help by sharing this broadcast. I'm Hank Linderman. I'm running for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd District. This is beautiful Falls of Rough, Kentucky behind me. Let's get a quick look over here so you can see what I look at every morning and every afternoon. It's just wonderful. So anyway, I'm glad that you're here. It is Juneteenth, and we're going to talk quite a bit about that. Greg Walker is here. Hi, Greg. How are you? I'm glad you're here. Let's talk a little bit about Juneteenth. Now, Juneteenth, as we know, or we have learned, is the day, 155 years ago, that the slaves were finally freed in Texas. And this is when a Union general came into Galveston and issued this proclamation. Hi, Darren. How are you? Hi, Robin. Hi, Nancy. I'm glad you're here. And by the way, everybody, please share this. That's a big way you can help us, because every time you share it, we get your friends to pay attention to this too, and it helps us spread our message. And going forward, we're going to have quite a message that we need to share. Hi, Jill Peters from Lake Forest and Bay Village from the Old Hood. Hi, Jill. How are you? Glad you're here. Now, some interesting things about Juneteenth. I have to admit, this is one of the times I'm going to give President Trump some credit. There's a headline on CNN right now. Hi, Claire. How are you? There's a headline on CNN that says, Trump claims he deserves credit for making June 19th very famous. And in fact, maybe I'll do this. Here's the way we can do this. Low tech. But there you go. Oh, but it's backwards. Oh, well. It's on CNN. And he says he deserves... Hi, Carolyn. How are you? He says he deserves credit for making Juneteenth very famous. And I have to agree. He actually is... he actually did that because he had scheduled a rally in Tulsa. It was going to be today. And Tulsa, Oklahoma, of course, is the site of the bombing of Black Wall Street, which I believe was 99 years ago. Greenwood, which was a neighborhood, pardon me, in Tulsa, that was a successful black neighborhood. It was one that, you know, they had businesses, they had banks, they were functioning very well, and they had an event that got out of control. A young black man had been, a young black boy, like 18, I think he was 18 years old, had been on an elevator. Kirk Gillen Waters. How are you? I'm glad you're here. In Tulsa, this young black man had been on an elevator with a white woman, and she claimed that he had attacked her. He got arrested, and there was a lynch mob that came up, and to protect him, I believe some former soldiers, some black soldiers who had served in the military, 5 or 6 of them showed up to protect him, and things got out of control, and they started shooting, and they chased this group into Greenwood, into the black neighborhood, which started full-on fighting and shooting, and it ultimately ended with, I believe, 300 people were killed, and most of the neighborhood was burned to the ground. By the way, this weekend, if you haven't already seen it, there's a show on HBO.com that they'll let you see for free in honor of this, and the show is called Watchmen, and the initial scene of it is the bombing and destruction of Greenwood. So it's a incredible thing to see. And by the way, I never knew about this. I wasn't taught this in school. I suspect you weren't either. So, hi Jane, how are you? I suspect none of us, you know, that were raised in public schools. In fact, I saw a story about the riot, the damage that was done to Greenwood. on, I want to say 60 Minutes, and they had black folks that were from Tulsa saying, this didn't happen, because they weren't taught it either. But sure enough, it did happen. I found out about it a few years ago with some band members from a band that I was part of. So anyway, Juneteenth has more and more significance, and probably, again, giving credit to President Trump because of him kind of trolling the country and setting up his rally that's going to be in Tulsa tomorrow. Hi, Gary. How are you? Trying to, draw attention to this and perhaps get some favor from Black America. But the touchback, the feedback was so negative, he's moved it to tomorrow. And there's going to be 100,000 people in Tulsa. Something I did was I can't show you the numbers, but I can tell you I looked up the numbers for the coronavirus, and here's USA yesterday. We usually look at yesterday. The numbers are still dropping a little bit for deaths. 747 deaths, tragic, in the United States yesterday, but our new cases continue to climb, and they're climbing particularly in California, Texas, and Arizona. I also looked, just for the heck of it, at Oklahoma, because we're going to be seeing this gathering. This will be the first large gathering in the country. President Trump's rally tomorrow, they're expecting something like 100,000 people there, and it'll be the first time that many people have been gathered together. So Oklahoma had had 2 people pass away yesterday, and they had added 450 new cases. So it'll be interesting to see in the next couple of weeks if their cases go up. Hi, Michael. How are you? I'm glad you're here. Now, that may be a little misleading, because my suspicion is that President Trump will be drawing from areas outside of Oklahoma, that people within driving range will be coming there to go do that. So it's likely that we're going to see, hi Drew, how are you? Hi Jane. It's likely we'll see some sort of increase in new cases. Of course, we know that the virus is more likely to spread if you don't wear a mask. Although I've recently seen something that says the virus itself has a tougher time surviving. It doesn't survive as long in the sunlight, but it still apparently survives 6 minutes. So if you're around someone for that length of time, it takes that long for the virus to die. So, and that's no reason to say to somebody, hey, it's okay for you to be close to someone outdoors. I wanted to tell you all a little story today before I go any deeper into this, because I was starting to think of ways to talk about what's going on in our country. And some of what's going on in our country, this just came to me the other day, and so I wrote this, and I'll try it out on you all, see what you all think. And we do have a surprise coming up later on. That's a couple of surprises, actually, that I'll share. But let me read this to you first. When I was growing up, the Seesaw was one of my regular stops when I went to the neighborhood school playground. This was back in the late 50s and early 60s. I grew up in New Milford, Connecticut. Our fenced-in backyard gave us a view of the playground that I remember being 5 years old. My brother and I would get back to that chain link fence and watch the kids who were in school. We were too young to go to school. And we'd watch them play on the playground, and we were allowed to join them at the end of the school day. My mom would take us over, and we could go play on the playground. Now, the Seesaw was a really special experience. Unlike the swings or the slides, you had to have a partner in order to have a good time. You had to have a partner with someone, and it had to be the right partner. You couldn't just have any partner. They had to be the right size. They had to have a certain amount of skill and understanding of how the Seesaw worked. Then they couldn't be too big, and they couldn't be too much older than you, because you wanted to be kind of in line with each other. And we learned to compensate for weight and size differences. The heavier, bigger kid would move towards the front. He'd get towards the fulcrum. And the lighter kid, and I was one of the lighter kids, so you'd have to move back so you could get some leverage. Hi, Raymond. How are you? Randell, how are you? I'm glad you all are here. So, you know, I was one of the lighter kids, so I'd have to move back to be able to deal with a kid who was maybe 15, 20 pounds heavier than me. This usually worked pretty well, but it was less fun if you were the bigger kid because you didn't get the full range of motion that was out there on the end. In fact, as the little kid, you tended to bounce. So the best pairing was with someone who was physically equal to you. Then all the secrets of the seesaw were unlocked. You both got the full range of up and down flight. You learned how to coordinate your actions. When you were at the bottom, you pushed off. And the person at the top kind of bounced, and then they'd prepare to land and relaunch, and that would go back and forth. When things got really good, one of you would start laughing, and then the other would laugh as well. And the pleasure of laughing together with your eyes locked and smiles wide remains special and memorable to me, and that came back to me today. Hi, Rusty. How are you? Glad you're here. Now, you know, when you're really young, learning to share can be tough. Learning to share a toy, that's a tough lesson that parents have to teach kids. But the seesaw you had to share. And that may have been the first lesson most of us got in the art of cooperation and collaboration. We had to work together in order to have fun. Now, part of a really bad pairing was the big kid who would use their weight to trap you, the lighter kid, at the top. And the big kid would back up, and this would give them all the leverage they needed to hold you up in the air. And then you'd be suspended, just kind of waiting for the inevitable, which was when the big kid had had enough. And then he would jump off and send you dropping like a stone to the bottom. Hi, John. How are you? I'm glad you're here. It was not fun, and when you hit the bottom, it bounced, and you know you'd get a shock through your bones. You know, it was not pleasant. It was not fun to be that kid who was trapped in the air, about to plummet to the ground. So this was another life lesson, I suppose, one that still kind of grinds. You know, still bothers me. But why this came to me was the willingness to use your leverage to purposely take advantage of someone else. That's now the problem that's at the heart of our social and economic system. The prevailing attitude seems to be, what's the point of having leverage if you aren't willing to use it? And so we all got used to this casual cruelty, and we learned to nervously laugh sometimes if the bullies picked on one of our friends, glad that it wasn't us, but feeling bad about it, but not much you could do. So nowadays, our nation's seesaw is inhabited solely by bullies that use their leverage against each other. The rest of us don't even get a turn at the seesaw or on the rest of the playground. All this has gone on for so long that we hardly notice it, but it's also gone so far that it's no longer sustainable. Our system is failing in so many ways, from the role of the police to the role of money, and even to the survival of our species. Now, the recent protests of the killing of George Floyd have brought many of us back trying to get onto the playground, demanding our time to be heard, to be allowed back into society, to not be taken for granted. And while we don't want to become the same sort of bullies who, you know, pushed us out to begin with, we now must say no to much of what that society of social and economic bullies has imposed on us. Now, I want to remind you, as I heard from friends from Al-Anon, no is a complete sentence. That's all you got to say. When the answer is no, it's a complete sentence. So I'm imagining that you all will answer me now when I say, children who go to bed hungry? No. Stagnant wages for those who work? No. Unaffordable higher education? No. Obscenely profitable and yet ineffective health care? No. More poisoning of the planet by corrupt and greedy corporations? No. Police who are not responsible to their communities? No. Institutional racism, discrimination, and sexism? No. After all, no is a complete sentence. But then again, so is yes. Yes is a complete sentence. So I hope you'll join me and say yes. With liberty and justice for all. Yes. Sharing the benefits of the economy with those who work. Yes. Protecting the weak and the sick. Yes. Rebuilding our nation. Yes. And so here we are. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And the only way to do it is for all of us to get involved. The world's problems are not going to be addressed without your help. We can no longer rely on those with money, those with power. We have to rely on ourselves. We must work together. And we have to elect politicians whose primary obligation and responsibility is to the people, we the people. Those who have used us, divided us, and applied their leverage to minimize us, they aren't afraid of any politician. They aren't afraid of Trump. They aren't afraid of Governor Andy Beshear. They're not afraid of Mitch. They're not afraid of Obama. But I want to tell you, my friends, they are afraid of you. They're afraid that you'll get involved. They don't have an answer to people who are willing to stand up and walk and talk and work together arm in arm. So the time is now to walk together, to work together, to build a better America for all of us. So let's all get back on the playground. Let's all get a turn on the seesaw. Can I get an amen? Thanks for listening to that. So we do have some things that, a couple of wonderful announcements. Now the first one is, we've talked about the contract for rural and working America. That's going to get presented on Monday night on KET. Former Congressman Mike Ward is going to be commenting on the Tuesday primary in Kentucky. So Kentucky's primary election is Tuesday. But Monday night on KET, Mike Ward, Congressman, will be on the show on KET, and he's going to let them know about the contract for rural and working America. And that's, if you don't already know about the contract, unfortunately I can't share it with you right now, right this second, but in a few seconds I will be able to share it with you because we've got another surprise. Well, two more. So if you're able to watch KET, keep your eye out for Mike Ward on Monday night on their coverage of the primary. Next, one unusual thing about the primary this year is because of so much mail-in absentee voting, they've announced, the Secretary of State of Kentucky has announced that they will not be announcing any election results until they have all of the results. They believe that will take about a week, which, in my opinion, it would be better if we were seeing partial results. That would be much better. Hi, Brad. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Jane. But that's what's going to happen, is they're not going to share this with us until they've got the answer. So, like I say, it could be every bit of a week before we find out who wins the primary. And if you aren't paying attention, that Senate primary is fascinating. I'm not going to say a thing about it. I'm not endorsing anybody, but I'm pleased to see that there's so much attention going to that race, and I can't wait to see what finds out, or what the result is. But on Wednesday, I've been invited to appear on Terry Miner's show, and he's a radio host, and we'll be posting information about that and where you'll be able to see it. And that'll be at 5:35 Eastern to talk about the contract for rural America. And he's had a look at it, and he liked it and said, yeah, let's talk about that. So I'll be on Terry Miner's radio show Wednesday afternoon at 5:35 Eastern, and if you can tune in, there will be a way. I'll post this up so that you'll be able to see it. Terry, by the way, is the #1 drive time AM DJ in the state, and I've known Terry for more than 40 years. I met him way back in the LRS days, back in the 70s, so maybe I've known him 50 years. My goodness, time flies. Well, the last big surprise is that thanks to the efforts of Rich Campbell, who's watching right now, and hopefully Rich will be adding to some comments to this, going to reveal our new website, and that's at hank4ky.com. I had all kinds of screenshots to show you and all kinds of stuff, but my computer gave up, so I'll just have to tell you about it. Rich did a fantastic job redoing this, and by the way, Rich Campbell, who's a dear friend, we've made music before because Rich is the bassist for the group America, Jerry Beckley and Dewey Bunnell, and of course they are dear friends. And Rich is, in addition to being a bassist, he's a man of many, many talents, and he's contributing a lot of time to help our campaign move forward. And that, by the way, is how this sort of thing will work. That's how we break the cycle of, politicians whose real skill is raising money. Most of Congress, most of the Senate, their real skill is raising money. And I don't know that serves us all that well. That's my belief is we'd be better off with people who understood that their job is to serve people. Well, to break that chain, hi Patty, I'm glad you're here. To break that chain, it means people need to help. And hi Bill, how are you? That means getting help. And we have people that are helping on the campaign, they're volunteering their time, and they're from all over the country, and it's really making a difference. Now, even if all you can do is share this broadcast, that's a great thing. When you get to the new website, it'll ask you to sign up for our newsletter. I haven't written the first one yet, so the newsletter will be coming. But please sign up for it, because that gives us a way to reach out to you. And you'll find that there's a way to follow us on social media. You'll see about the issues. Now, the big issue that we've been talking about is the contract for rural and working America, and there'll be a location there that you can just click here and download a PDF of it so you can have your own copy of it. Hi, Paul. How are you? Good to see you. You'll also be able to contribute. There's a place there to contribute through ActBlue, or you can use our QR code and use Venmo to contribute to the campaign. So I want to send a tremendous thanks out to Rich Campbell and to all of you for watching. Please go check out the new website. This is, of course, Friday, so this is the last day of this week that I'll be doing it. I should have talked more about Juneteenth. There are a couple of articles you could see. One is in the New Yorker. There's a wonderful article about Juneteenth, and they make the point that this is a day of achievement not for the old site is there now. We'll reveal the new site on cue. Oh yeah, Rich, go for it. Let's as soon as we finish the broadcast, Rich, go for the new one. By the way, when you look at the new website, if you've looked at the old one before, it might still have the old one in cache, and so you'll have to reload Command-R on a Macintosh. Anyway, the story in the New Yorker about Juneteenth, the comment was, this is an achievement for white America. It's not an achievement for black America to have been set free. This is an achievement for America to have finally, after the Civil War, 2.5 months after the end of the war, finally a general made it to Texas and freed the slaves. Texas, by the way, had become a place where all the serious slave owners had gone to Texas to maintain their slaves as long as possible. So that was the actual end of slavery, was June 19th, and we celebrate it today, Juneteenth. Well, Rich, why don't you go ahead and make the new one live? Rich is just about to make it live, so please go and visit it. It may take a few minutes for it to populate, but so glad to have you all here. I hope you have a great weekend. And by the way, happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. And thank you all so much. You know I love you. We've got a lot of work to do to work on our country. This reminds me of one more thing. I just can't stop, can I? You know, when things are this messed up, there's actually a lot of opportunities. The optimist of me, the optimism that I generally feel says to me, we have a lot of opportunity. We have opportunities to fix our country. And not that it's going to be easy, and we're going to have lots of work to do, and in some ways it's going to be work that we may never finish, but it still needs to be done. We are obligated to do the work, and I feel that way myself. So, hi Daniel, I'm glad you're here. I'm saying goodbye. I love you all. Hope you have a great weekend and a great Father's Day. I'll see you Monday. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.